Welcome to HFY Sci-Fi Stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. The galaxy's most lethal assassin, a creature forged in the crucible of war, felt her perfectly calibrated world shatter the moment he whispered a single word. Beautiful. The Trident Peace Station, an engineering marvel, hung in the cosmic void like a grand, chrome-plated cathedral. Its three colossal arms stretched out, silent witnesses to a century of devastating interstellar conflict. Within its vast, seemingly sterile corridor, the oppressive weight of galactic history settled upon every soul. This was the precipice where the Terran Confederacy and the formidable Vexar Dominion would either etch a lasting peace into the annals of time or reignite a conflagration that would consume another generation. Owen Chen tightened his grip on his pulse rifle, its familiar, reassuring weight a small anchor against the roiling storm in his gut. At a mere 27, he was remarkably young for an assignment of such monumental consequence, yet his exemplary service record spoke volumes. Still, nothing in his training, no simulation, had truly prepared him for the raw, stark reality of standing sentinel, while two mighty civilizations teetered on the brink, deciding the very fate of the galaxy. The Vexar delegation arrived with the cold, unyielding precision of a perfectly executed military maneuver. Their ambassador, a figure of imposing authority, moved through the sprawling docking bay with the undeniable presence of a natural force. His polished silver uniform gleamed, catching the harsh station lights, but it was the silent figure trailing behind him that caused the assembled Terran guards to stiffen, their fear barely contained beneath professional composure. Xylithra, known chillingly as the ambassador's ghost, her reputation preceding her like an impenetrable shadow, was a legend whispered across battlefields, a flawless killer who had never faltered, never hesitated, never shown a flicker of mercy. Yet as Owen watched her glide across the deck with an almost supernatural grace, his focus shifted from the terrifying legends to the captivating reality before him. Her skin was a deep, opulent purple, with intricate, darker veins tracing elegant patterns that seemed to pulse with an ethereal inner luminescence. Her elongated ears, exquisitely pointed and delicate, twitched almost imperceptibly, attuned to frequencies no human could detect. Most arresting were her eyes. Twin orbs of brilliant yellow-orange, each appearing to hold miniature burning suns, missing absolutely nothing as they meticulously swept the room for any conceivable threat. Her armor, a masterpiece of both lethal function and sublime form, consisted of segmented black plates that moved with her body, as if a second, living skin. Every piece was exquisitely etched with intricate patterns, speaking volumes of a culture that paradoxically found profound beauty in the art of war. Her dark hair was intricately woven with tiny metallic fixtures that caught the light with every subtle movement, creating a mesmerizing, almost celestial halo effect around her head. Later, during his routine patrol of the observation deck, Owen found himself inexplicably drawn to a lengthy corridor lined with one-way viewing panels. Through the reinforced transpar steel, he could peer directly into the Vexar delegation's private quarters. He rationalized it as routine surveillance, but the undeniable truth was his eyes sought her out with an intensity that had nothing whatsoever to do with duty. She was utterly alone, her body flowing through what could only be described as a deadly, hypnotic dance. Her movements were a terrifying ballet, each position precise enough to shatter bone or slice through adamantium armor. There was an unparalleled artistry to her violence, a brutal elegance that stole Owen's breath. She was far more than a mere weapon. She was a warrior poet, expressing herself through a chilling language of perfectly controlled lethality. As he watched, utterly mesmerized, she completed her kata with a final, fluid strike that seemed to hang suspended in the air, a silent, profound question. For a brief, startling moment, she stood perfectly still, and Owen could have sworn he witnessed something vulnerable flicker across her usually impassive features, a momentary chink in her formidable armor that vanished so swiftly he might have imagined it entirely. The next morning, Owen was assigned to corridor duty, a simple posting that would become anything but. As the various delegations moved between conference rooms, the Vexar group approached with their characteristic, unnerving silence, the only sound the heavy, deliberate footsteps of their ambassador. As they neared Owen's checkpoint, he stepped forward, activating the security door and holding it open, a gesture born of both ingrained protocol and an innate, perhaps foolish, politeness. The ambassador passed through without a glance, followed by his retinue. But as Xylithra approached, her luminous, sun-like eyes met Owen's. For a suspended fraction of a second, the entire universe seemed to contract, shrinking to encompass only the two of them. In her gaze, he detected no malice, no cold calculation, only a profound, ancient intelligence cloaked in layers of meticulously trained isolation. As she passed within arm's reach, close enough for him to inhale the faint, exotic alien scent of her, something like crisp ozone mixed with the delicate fragrance of night-blooming flowers, Owen felt an undeniable tremor deep within his chest. The words escaped his lips before his conscious mind could even register them. Quiet, but utterly clear. "You're beautiful." The effect was immediate, absolute, and devastating. Xylithra's perfectly controlled stride faltered, a minute hitch that lasted no more than a microsecond. Her head tilted almost imperceptibly toward him, and her brilliant glowing eyes widened, revealing something that might have been profound shock, fleeting confusion, or perhaps something far more unsettling and personal. Then, just as swiftly, she was past him, her recovery so flawlessly executed that anyone else would have missed that minuscule moment of disruption. But Owen had seen it, felt it, and as he watched her perfect form disappear down the corridor, a chilling realization settled over him. The galaxy's most dangerous, most untouchable warrior had just revealed her first, profound weakness. And that weakness was him. The word beautiful echoed in Xylithra's mind, an invading virus multiplying and spreading through her disciplined consciousness with each relentless repetition. Intellectually, she understood the concept: aesthetic appeal, a design meant to lower an opponent's guard, to create psychological vulnerabilities that could then be ruthlessly exploited. But the human guard's delivery, his words lacked any trace of the tells her rigorous training ingrained. No heightened pulse, no telltale pupils, no subtle micro-expressions of deceit, only pure, simple sincerity, offered with the unburdened truth of a weather comment. This defied all logic. Every brutal moment of her conditioning had readied her for weapons, for threats, for 1,000 ways foes might shatter her focus. Yet for kindness, she was utterly, devastatingly unprepared. Within her silent quarters, Zilra mechanically replayed memory files. Every human interaction, word, glance, gesture, meticulously analyzed, indexed. Data remained utterly consistent. His statement was genuine, devoid of tactical purpose or hidden agenda. Simply true. Implications were profound. If beauty existed without function, if words held no strategic intent, then all she knew of human nature was incomplete. The flaw wasn't her conditioning. It was in her understanding of the cosmos itself. Before her mirror, she scanned her reflection through new eyes. Her violet skin, the luminous gaze, that deadly grace, always just tools. Her architects crafted her for intimidation, for the sheer psychological shock of encountering something alien and lethal. But the human, impossibly, perceived something altogether different. The next day dawned, commencing peace negotiations. The Grand Assembly Hall, a marvel of diplomatic architecture, sought to equalize both species in comfort and vulnerability. Xylithra took post behind the ambassador's chair, her senses instinctively charting every exit, every threat, every attack vector. The Terran delegation advanced with disciplined precision, uniforms crisp, faces carefully neutral. She catalogued each: weapons, stance, probable combat effectiveness, all but one. Owen stood sentinel near the entrance, dark eyes sweeping the crowd with professional alertness. When his gaze met hers, that same inexplicable disruption coursed through her neural pathways. This time, she believed herself ready, or so she desperately hoped. The ambassador's hand executed a subtle, silent command, invisible to all but those rigorously Vexar-trained. The instruction was concise: assess, report, prepare. Sithra's response should have been instantaneous, automatic. Her head, precisely 3 degrees left, her eyes locked on target, her hand confirming receipt. These actions, so deeply ingrained, were pure reflex. Instead, her gaze remained on Owen, ensnared by that impossible connection. The delay was microscopic, a tenth of a second, yet it felt like an eon. By the time training violently reasserted itself and she executed the mandated response, the moment had passed. The ambassador's displeasure settled as a cold weight, his expression unyielding. She had failed. Her perfect conditioning had cracked, and they both knew it. As delegates settled and ceremonial words began, Xylithra fiercely refocused on duties, cataloging threats, analyzing sightlines, preparing for countless paths to lethality. Yet at the periphery of her vision, Owen's presence persisted, a quiet sincerity that had utterly shattered her certainty. The human, with one word, had unleashed chaos into her ordered world. Her instinct screamed to report this psychological contamination, to demand immediate reconditioning. Instead, an alien sensation bloomed, curiosity, taking precious minutes to identify. What other impossibilities might he utter? What other truths lay beyond her training's narrow parameters? These questions were dangerous, but they were profoundly irresistible. As the morning session ended and delegates recessed, Xylithra held her post, outwardly scanning for threats. Yet her enhanced hearing tuned to a new frequency, straining for the steady footsteps, the quiet confidence of a human who saw beauty in a killer. The ambassador's hand moved again, another silent command. This time, her response was flawless, swift, precise, automatic. But even as her body obeyed, part of her mind fixated on the impossible human who introduced malfunction. And for the first time, she wondered if malfunction was simply another word for freedom. Commander Sarah Martinez, veteran of countless wars, instantly recognized a soldier distracted by beauty. She cornered Owen in the Securate. The briefing room, thick with the stale air of a spent shift, held Commander Martinez. Her face, a roadmap of harsh experience, bore the weight of hard-earned authority. "Chen," she snapped, her voice razor-sharp, "explain why your gaze is perpetually fixed on the Vexar assassin instead of vital threat assessment." Owen's jaw tightened, yet his voice remained meticulously level. "Commander, I am performing my duties. My surveillance has been nothing short of thorough." "Thorough," Martinez scoffed, her gaze cutting. She leaned in, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "Your thorough focus is on one particular, purple-skinned nightmare who could end you with a flick of her pinky. That thing isn't a woman, soldier. It's a weapon, a cold instrument of death, and weapons feel no regard for your subjective appreciation of their form." "With respect, Commander," Owen replied, his composure strained. "I am acutely aware of the inherent risks." "Are you?" Her eyes narrowed, piercing him. "Because fraternization with hostile entities is a court-martial offense, and gawking at their deadliest operative, as if she were some captivating performer, inches perilously close to that line, even without physical contact." Owen's cheeks burned, but he held his ground. "I comprehend the regulations, ma'am." "Good," she hissed, a chilling finality in her tone. "Because if I ever again catch you staring so wistfully at the ambassador's ghost, I will have you reassigned to waste reclamation so fast your head will quite literally spin. Is my meaning crystal clear?" "Crystal, Commander." Yet even as Owen offered his reluctant nod of compliance, his thoughts drifted far beyond the confines of the room. Martinez's harsh warning served only to cement a truth he already held. His profound fascination with Xylithra was perilously dangerous, but the commander, in her rigid practicality, utterly failed to grasp the true scope of that peril. It wasn't merely a threat to his burgeoning career. It was a danger to something far more profound, a latent spark within his very soul, dormant until the haunting brilliance of those luminous eyes ignited it. Elsewhere, within the stark utilitarian confines of the Vexar quarters, Xylithra, known to some as Sithra, pursued her own methodical inquiry. Her hyper-attuned senses had already meticulously charted the station's intricate patrol routes, pinpointing the precise moment and secluded locale for an unobserved, intimate encounter. She rationalized this imperative as a need to dissect the anomaly Owen presented, to scrutinize the unexpected flaw in her own conditioning and devise effective countermeasures. Or so, at least, was the official justification she presented to herself. The hydroponics bay, a living, breathing sanctuary, contrasted sharply with the station's clinical sterility. Here, it rose like a verdant cathedral, its air thick with the scent of alien blossoms. Towering arboreal forms, transplanted from a dozen distant worlds, stretched skyward, their leafy limbs reaching for the artificial suns above. Their intertwining branches wove an intricate tapestry of shifting shadows and dappled, filtered light. It was within this lush, hidden world that Xylithra chose her moment, materializing from the dense foliage with the silent grace of a supreme predator, assessing its quarry. Owen, lost in contemplation of a delicate flowering vine, barely registered her presence until her voice, rich with the haunting, musical quality of her species, despite its chillingly lethal undertones, broke the silence. "You are alone." He turned, not with a startle, but with an almost imperceptible shift, his hand instinctively brushing his sidearm before the recognition clicked. "So are you." "This is not coincidence." "No," he conceded, his gaze locking with hers, utterly devoid of fear. "I don't believe it is." She observed him with an almost surgical intensity, her head tilting just fractionally as her mind processed every subtle nuance of his reactions. "Your commander," she stated, her voice devoid of inflection, "has issued warnings to steer you away from me." "How did you—" Owen began, then cut himself short, a wave of self-reproach washing over him. "Of course," he murmured, "your enhanced senses." "I perceive a multitude of things," she replied, her gaze unwavering. "The rhythm of heartbeats, the subtle shifts in breathing patterns, the minute micro-tremors that betray anxiety, and the nuanced inflections in voices that expose deception." She took another deliberate step closer, and again, Owen was enveloped by that peculiar, strangely intoxicating scent, a delicate, yet powerful, alien perfume. "You speak truth," she noted, "even when a logical assessment would dictate falsehood. This behavior is inefficient." "Maybe," Owen admitted, a slight shrug. "But it's fundamentally who I am." "Who you are," she countered, her tone absolute, "is utterly irrelevant. Only function holds meaning. You declared me beautiful. Elucidate the tactical advantage of this assertion." Despite the utterly surreal absurdity of the exchange, a faint, genuine smile touched Owen's lips. "There isn't one," he confessed. "Beauty doesn't require a tactical purpose. It simply is." "This," she declared, "is illogical." "Logic," Owen responded, his voice softening, "isn't the sum total of existence." She began to circle him, her movements a mesmerizing blend of predatory grace and unsettling hypnosis. "Among my species," she explained, her voice a low hum, "males are selected solely for genetic compatibility and reproductive potential. Females are chosen exclusively for their combat effectiveness and strategic value. Beauty is deemed a mere distraction, a glaring weakness to be ruthlessly exploited." "Perhaps," Owen ventured, the words a quiet challenge, "that's precisely why your people have been locked in war for such an eternity." The provocative statement hung suspended between them, a fragile, unspoken dare. Zilithra halted her slow, deliberate pacing, her luminous eyes narrowing to fine slits as she meticulously processed the audacious implications. "You imply," she stated, a tremor of something unidentifiable in her tone, "that our methods are fundamentally flawed." "I propose," Owen countered, his conviction growing, "that there is a vast spectrum to existence beyond mere combat proficiency. Art, music, love. These are the profound elements that imbue life with meaning, that make it worth truly living, not simply enduring." "Love," she echoed, the word a curious foreign sound upon her lips, as though she were tasting an unknown language. Her gaze met his, searching, unblinking. "Another tactical weakness? Or," she whispered, a hint of something fragile surfacing in her perfect composure, "the very greatest strength of all?" For a long, charged moment, they simply stood amidst the vibrant, alien vegetation, two disparate beings from shattered worlds attempting to span a chasm of understanding forged by centuries of bitter conflict. The dappled, filtered light cascaded over her striking features, subtly illuminating the elegant, almost ethereal curves of her face. A profound, subtle beauty her creators had meticulously engineered without ever truly comprehending its essence. "Your logic," she stated at last, her voice now softer, stripped of its earlier, rigid certainty, "is undeniably flawed. It will get you killed." "Perhaps," Owen conceded, a wistful note in his voice, "but it might also, paradoxically, set me free." As she finally turned to depart, gliding away with that same impossibly fluid, unearthly grace, Owen's voice, hesitant yet resolute, followed her. "Zilithra." She froze, her back still facing him, a statue of enigma. "What," he pressed, "is your real name? The one they gave you, before they twisted you into a weapon?" For a single, fragile heartbeat, her slender shoulders trembled almost imperceptibly. When she finally spoke, her voice was a mere wisp, a breath of sound. I don't She vanished, leaving Owen amidst blossoms, the galaxy's most perilous woman having just bared her deepest wound. The Grand Assembly Hall, now a sanctuary, its soaring architecture reflecting dual civilizations' aspirations, housed representatives from the Terran Confederacy and the Vexar Dominion. Their formal attire sharply contrasted with their guards' weaponry. General Marcus Stern, at the podium, his face etched with history's weight, a man who'd commanded fleets during war's darkest hours, now spoke of peace, his voice resonating throughout. For 137 years, our peoples have bled among the stars, he declared, his words translated for the Vexar. We've poisoned worlds, shattered moons, turning the void into a graveyard. But today, we choose a different path. Silithra, the Vexar ambassador's bodyguard, outwardly impeccable, alert, professional, a shield against death. Hidden within her ceremonial ring, though, lay a microscopic device, a crystalline filament thinner than a hair, yet infinitely lethal. A Vexar masterpiece, a neurotoxin targeting only Terrans. One graze, and General Stern would fall within seconds, his death a seemingly natural end, shattering fragile peace talks. The Terrans would accuse the Vexar would deny, igniting a new war. Moderates silenced, the galaxy ablaze. A perfect plan, a perfect weapon. Silithra, prepared since negotiations began, timed her movements to the general's gestures. As he emphasized a point, she'd brush past, her ring contacting his wrist. This isn't just a treaty, Stern's voice soared. It's a promise to our children. Stars, not scars. Exploration, not weapons. The ambassador subtly confirmed. Silithra's enhanced vision tracked the general's every move. 17 seconds until his next gesture. 18 seconds until her strike. The filament extended. One touch. Mission accomplished. Victory for the war faction. Peace extinguished. 16 seconds. Muscles tensed, breath steady, heartbeat controlled. 15 seconds. Stern's voice filled the hall. I propose not just an end to hostilities, but a new beginning. Joint exploration, shared colonies, united defense forces, one galaxy, united by hope. Tactical considerations, meaningless noise to Silithra. 14 seconds. She scanned for threats, escape routes. The Terran guards oblivious, except one. Owen, at the entrance, his dark eyes met hers. She felt that familiar disruption, but this time, something more. A small, encouraging nod. He believed in her, not her mission, not her weapon, but her presence as a guardian of peace. In his eyes, she saw not the ambassador's ghost, but Zilra, a beautiful being. The word resonated. A prayer, a promise, a revelation. For the first time, she was seen, not as a function, but as a person. Her hand trembled, a microscopic tremor undetectable to any but those versed in Vexar physiology, yet it signaled the perfect weapon's first falter, a flicker of hesitation that eroded certainty into doubt. Beauty, she mused. What purpose does it serve? A question that returned to mock her, for beauty simply was, unburdened by function. And if beauty could exist without purpose, so too could she. The general advanced, his outstretched hand the harbinger of inevitable contact, a moment that would finalize the mission etched into her very genes. You're beautiful, he murmured. There's more to existence than combat effectiveness. What's your real name? The faces in the crowd swam, but one, Owen's, radiated quiet confidence and impossible hope. General Stern's voice resonated. Let us choose to be builders rather than destroyers, gardeners rather than warriors. Her mission parameters shrieked, execute, complete, fulfill your purpose. Yet a new human voice, louder than her conditioning, whispered, who do you choose to be? With a soft click, the poison filament retracted into her ring. The moment had passed. The general's hand fell, his safety secured, the fragile peace preserved. Sithra, a traitor, had emerged. The realization struck with physical force, but she maintained a mask of composure as thunderous applause followed the general's speech. The Vexar ambassador, his expression carefully neutral, approached the podium. The Terran proposal is comprehensive, he declared, his voice amplified. It demonstrates a commitment to genuine peace that cannot be ignored. The Vexar Dominion accepts these terms. The hall erupted in joyous celebration, delegates embracing, guards finally shedding their vigilance. History had been forged, the galaxy marking this as the day the longest war finally ceased. But Zilra harbored a chilling truth. She had likely doomed them all. The war faction would not forgive her perceived failure. They would seek another path, another weapon, another vulnerability, and her hesitation would ignite the pyre of peace. She had chosen Owen over duty, beauty over function, hope over certainty, and in doing so, condemned all she was designed to protect. The irony was stark. In striving to secure peace, she had jeopardized it. Yet witnessing Owen's radiant joy across the hall, regret was impossible. For the first time, she had acted not as a weapon, but as a woman, even if it meant her end. Ambassador Kiara's private chambers, a testament to Vexar aesthetics with their clean lines and light-absorbing metallic surfaces, held Zithra at attention. Her hands clasped behind her back, her face a mask of composure, yet her enhanced senses detected the barely suppressed rage vibrating in the air. Ambassador Kiara, tall even for a Vexar, his silver uniform rustling, circled her slowly. Ritual scars marked his pale skin, a testament to his warrior caste. His crimson eyes, glowing in the subdued light, remained fixed on her. The mission parameters were clear, he stated, his voice an echo of absolute authority. General Stern was to perish during his address, a death appearing natural, plunging the peace talks into chaos and suspicion. Zilra remained silent, offering no excuse for her undeniable failure. Instead, Kathura continued, I find myself bound by a treaty I never intended to honor, forced to smile and shake hands with creatures I consider barely evolved from their simian ancestors. Do you understand what you have done? I have disappointed you, Ambassador. Disappointed? The word escaped as a hiss. You have betrayed everything our people have worked toward. The war faction has spent years preparing for this moment, positioning assets, developing contingencies. Your single moment of weakness has rendered all of it meaningless. He stopped directly before her, close enough for her to detect the metallic tang of his augmented physiology. But perhaps weakness is too kind a word. Tell me, Zilra, what did you think of the human general's speech? I thought it was effective oratory. And the human guard who has been watching you, what did you think of him? The question hung, sharp as a blade. Zelithra's ingrained training screamed for deception, for deflection, for the preservation of operational security, but her will faltered. Betrayal hung heavy, a shared truth. I found him. Intriguing, utterly intriguing. Keithar's laughter shattered like ice. A weapon of perfect design finds a human. Intriguing. Do you understand what that means? Compromised, irretrievably flawed. He turned from her, gazing at the starfield drifting slowly beyond the viewport. Your failure, however, presents a chance for redemption. The treaty, signed and sealed, is merely fragile parchment, easily torn. A catalyst is all that's needed. He activated a holographic projection, the station's schematic blazing to life. Deep within the diplomatic sector, a pulsing red dot, Bashir, screamed of an anomaly. A thermal detonator, he explained, his voice regaining its chilling composure. Vexar military grade, capable of obliterating several decks. It's been there since our arrival, a contingency, in case the humans attempted to arrest or eliminate our delegation. Zilithra examined the schematic, her tactical mind instantly calculating blast radii and structural collapse. The explosion would annihilate the diplomatic wing, including the general you failed to neutralize. Also, the entire Terran negotiation team, prominent political figures, and, most tragically, the Vexar ambassador and his guard. He offered a cold, predatory smile. Naturally, the ambassador will be safely aboard our ship when it detonates. But officially, I'll die alongside my human counterparts. The Terrans will believe it was an extremist attack. Precisely. Evidence is already in place, framing a radical faction within their military. They'll uncover weapons caches, intercepted communications, even genetic material from known dissidents. They'll tear each other apart while we mobilize our fleets. A chilling dread gripped Zilithra. And my part in this? I'll be found in the wreckage, killed protecting the peace process. My body will bear the marks of combat with the Terran terrorists who planted the bomb. You will die as you lived, a Vexar instrument. Silence descended, punctuated only by the station's life support hum. Zilithra expected punishment, not this elaborate, posthumous fabrication. However, Cathara pressed on. One complication. Your encounter with the human guard was witnessed. Security footage shows you speaking with him in the hydroponics bay. If his body is discovered near yours, questions will arise. Questions that will unravel our deception. Precisely. Therefore, eliminate him before the detonation. Stage it as him discovering your supposed terrorist activities. You were forced to kill him in self-defense. This adds credibility to the cover story. The command struck her like a physical blow. To kill Owen, the only person who saw beyond the weapon she was unthinkable. But refusal meant not only her death, but the operation's total collapse. I understand, Ambassador. Good. 6 hours until detonation. Use them wisely. He returned to the viewport, dismissing her. Zelithra, try not to let sentiment hinder your effectiveness. She bowed, turning to leave, but his voice halted her. One final point. In case you considered warning the humans or disarming the device, I've already sent a security alert to Station Command. They believe you're a terrorist who infiltrated our delegation. Terran and Vexar forces are hunting you. The door whispered shut, leaving Zelithra alone. The station functioned normally, unaware that its inhabitants had but 6 hours to live, unless she could save them. But survival was paramount. The security alert echoed through the station's networks. She sensed the subtle shift, hurried footsteps, increased radio traffic, the low hum of weapons arming. She was the station's most wanted, hunted by those she vowed to protect. Her former allies would show no mercy. The humans would shoot on sight. Somewhere, Owen worked, oblivious to his death sentence by association. She had to reach him, warn him, somehow turn this to their advantage. The perfect weapon had become the perfect fugitive. And for the first time, she was truly free to choose her own destiny. The dread of damnation hung heavy as the security alert, sharp as a blade, tore through the station's comms. Instantly, every post, checkpoint, automated sentry screamed the same chilling message. Priority alert. Vexar operative Zilra designated hostile. Extremely dangerous. Lethal force authorized. Like a phantom, Zelithra navigated the service corridors, her heightened senses mapping the movements of her former allies. Vexar security had become relentless hunters, their patterns methodical and deadly. They would find her, eventually. Despite her skill, their training matched hers, their knowledge of her abilities complete. Barely 20 minutes remained before the net tightened. 20 minutes to reach Owen, to warn him, to somehow avert the impending catastrophe. Maintenance shafts offered her only hope. Narrow conduits, parallel to main corridors. For repair crews and automated systems. She slipped through an access hatch, her lithe form gliding through spaces impossible for most. Cold metal kissed her skin. The air tasted of recycled life and ozone. Desperate efficiency propelled her, her internal map guiding her through the station's mechanical veins. Every few seconds she paused, listening. The hunter's sounds amplified. Heavy footsteps above, frantic radio chatter, the menacing whine of charging Vexar energy weapons. The bomb would detonate in 5 hours, 37 minutes. Even reaching Owen, even convincing him, would require time to find and disarm the device. Time that bled away with each heartbeat. She reached the security section's access point just as a pulse firestorm erupted from the Vexar quarters. They'd found her trail. The hunt intensified. Minutes, maybe seconds, remained. The access hatch revealed a storage room, armor and weapons lining the walls. Silently, Zelithra landed, barely disturbing the dust motes dancing in the artificial light. Through the room's single door, the security station buzzed in crisis mode. Urgent steps, frantic voices, soft alert chimes. She pressed against the wall, listening. Owen's voice, calm and professional amid the chaos, rang out. Confirmed sighting, Section 7. All units converge. What about the ambassador? Is he secure? Evacuated to the transport ship as a precaution. This is a Terran problem now. Zelithra smiled grimly. Cathara had initiated his escape, leaving his bodyguard to face the music. But she wasn't his weapon any longer. The door hissed open, and she moved into the station with fluid grace. Monitors flickered, communications crackled. Armed personnel shifted in controlled chaos. 6 guards, weapons raised, responded by instinct. Stand down. Commander Martinez's voice, etched with grim resolve, cut through the air. Zilra, you are under arrest for terrorist activities. Surrender now, and you will be treated according to the Geneva Conventions. Commander, Owen interjected, his voice sharp. Let me talk to her. Negative. This is a hostile situation. She is wounded. Owen's words held true. Vexar pulsefire had grazed her arm, leaving a violet burn. If she intended to kill us, we would already be dead. Zelra met his gaze, recognizing the keen intelligence that first captivated her. He was analyzing, finding patterns. She had to trust him to see the truth. "The bomb," she whispered. "Hour 28 minutes. Diplomatic Core Section 12. Thermal detonator. Vexar. Military grade." Confusion erupted. Martinez barked orders. Guards raised weapons. But Owen's voice sliced through it all. "Stand down. All of you. Stand down. Chen, you don't have the authority. I have the authority of common sense." His weapon, now in his hand, pointed not at Zelithra, but at his commander. "If she's lying, we lose nothing by checking. If she's telling the truth, we lose everything by ignoring her." Tension hung heavy, thick with potential violence. Zelithra could see Martinez calculating the risk. Trust an enemy, or ignore a threat. "Why?" Martinez asked finally. "Why would you warn us?" "Because I failed in my true mission," Zilra replied, her voice strengthening. "I was sent to eliminate General Stern. Failing that, my superiors unleashed their backup plan. My sacrifice, a convenient pawn in their bloody game. You expect me to believe you're a reformed assassin? I ask you to believe I'd rather die fighting for peace than continue as a weapon of war." Footsteps echoed. Heavy boots, Vexar hunters, closing in. "They're here," Sithra whispered, bracing for battle. "Neither side wants peace. This is it." Martinez's weapon trembled. "How many?" "6 Vexar elites, double the Terran soldiers. This room's a death trap," Zelithra hissed, her enhanced hearing picking up the tactical maneuvers. Owen charged. "Commander, we must evacuate!" The door exploded, Vexar pulsefire illuminating the room in deadly flashes as elite hunters stormed in, their black armor gleaming menacingly. Zelithra moved with blinding speed, a whirlwind of controlled fury, a palm strike crushing one throat, a deflected pulse blast, a bone-shattering kick. But they were overwhelming. She was wounded, a pulse beam grazing her shoulder, another felling her. Owen's rifle roared, 2 hunters falling, their armor pierced. Martinez joined the fight, briefly turning the tide. Then the Terran soldiers arrived, guns trained on Zelithra, an enemy, not an ally. "Don't shoot!" Owen yelled, his voice swallowed by the gunfire. A Vexar blade sliced past Zelithra's face. She countered, the sickening crack of bone echoing as she incapacitated her attacker. But the hunters pressed closer, a deadly crossfire erupting. Back to back with Owen, they fought for survival. "This way!" Owen pulled her towards a maintenance hatch, his hand warm and reassuring amidst the chaos. They plunged into the darkness, the relentless pursuit echoing behind them. Sithra gasped, her wounds already healing. "The bomb detonates in 4 hours, 56 minutes. Owen's breath hitched. "Can you disarm it?" "Not alone. Dual encryption, Vexar military codes and Terran protocols. We need each other's skills." They reached a vast, dimly lit cargo bay, a perfect hiding place, a terrible defense. Owen led her to a sheltered alcove. "Why help me?" she asked, as he tended to her wounds, his touch gentle. "Because you're not the enemy, just a weaponized person. There's a difference. My commander will brand me a traitor. Better a traitor to a broken system than a loyal servant to evil," he said, meeting her gaze. "Besides, someone once said, beauty needs no strategy. It simply is." Despite the pain, danger, and impending doom, hope bloomed in Zelithra's heart, a feeling she'd been taught to reject. "We need the diplomatic corps," she declared, her voice stronger, heavily guarded. "Then we'll be better," Owen said, checking his weapon, his face resolute. "You know the station, I know the security protocols. Together, we have a chance, and if we fail together." He offered his hand, pulling her to her feet. "I'd rather die trying to save others than live knowing I could have made a difference." She took his hand. Her entire being vibrated at his touch, a connection deeper than her enhanced form, a spark between their souls. 4 hours, 43 minutes, she breathed. "Then we must go." Leaving the cargo bay as fugitives, their circumstances shifted with that electrifying moment. No longer strangers bound by fate, but something more. Partners in this impossible fight. Corridors of metal and ceramic stretched before them, a deadly labyrinth. Somewhere within, a bomb threatened their fragile hope. Somewhere else, their former comrades hunted with lethal intent. Yet for the first time, despair gave way to an unfamiliar strength. Zelithra felt the power of belief, of someone seeing beyond her programming, seeing her. They would save the station or die trying, but they would face it together. The station's hidden world of pipes, conduits, and mechanical systems became their highway, now a refuge for hunted fugitives. Owen led, his knowledge their only shield. Behind him, Sithra moved with fluid grace, her senses a living warning system. "Motion detectors," she whispered, the hum of the life support barely audible. 2 teams, converging. They were 6 decks above their destination, every route perilous. "Service shaft," Owen decided, pointing to a narrow opening. "Power distribution center. We bypass the security grid." Squeezing into the metallic throat of the shaft, pursuit grew more urgent. The entire station locked down. "Tell me about the bomb," Owen urged. "How does Vexar encryption work?" Silithra's luminous eyes gleamed. "Quantum entanglement keying, unbreakable. But you can bypass it. The codes burned into me. But trigger it without authorization, and it explodes." Owen nodded grimly. "And I have the Terran authorization codes. We need each other." "An elegant trap," she observed. They reached the power distribution center, a chamber of raw energy. "Diplomatic core draws power from Generator 7, Owen said, studying the displays. Xylithra's enhanced sight found it, a subtle power drain. "Maintenance junction 47, 3 decks down, heavily guarded." "We'll never make it," Owen stated. "Then we don't," Sithra replied, moving to a ventilation grate. "Climate control system, connect to every section." "Monitored," Owen countered. "Not if we disable the monitoring systems." She was already at the controls, her fingers a blur of motion, skillfully navigating the interface. "I can trigger a system-wide failure, disabling the sensors for about 12 minutes, she confirmed. "Will that be sufficient?" He knew it had to be. The ventilation shaft was a daunting passage, a twisted nightmare of jagged edges and suffocating narrowness. They moved like shadows through the station's metallic veins, their advance subtly marked by shifts in air pressure and temperature. This route led them through sections of the station Owen had never glimpsed. Derelict laboratories, sealed vaults, and forgotten chambers dating back to its very inception. As they advanced, their bodies pressed close in the constricted space. Owen became acutely aware of Xylithra's striking, alien allure. Her skin radiated a gentle warmth, despite its unusual hue, and her scent, a captivating blend of ozone and blossoms that bloomed only in darkness, enveloped his senses. "Tell me, why did you truly falter in dispatching the general?" he inquired during a brief respite in a slightly wider section of the conduit. She remained silent for so long, he feared she wouldn't respond. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely a breath. "Because you perceived me as something beyond a mere instrument. For the first time, I experienced uncertainty, and that doubt is fundamentally at odds with perfect conditioning." "I apologize for what, precisely?" he pressed. "For shattering your conviction," she whispered, her voice laced with newfound introspection. "For forcing you to question the very foundations of your being." She turned to face him in the confined passage, her luminous eyes mirroring the faint glow of the emergency lighting. "You didn't destroy anything, Owen. You unearthed what was already present, something my creators sought to suppress, but ultimately could not erase." "And what is that?" he asked, his voice hushed with anticipation. "The capacity to choose to be more than the sum of my programming." Her hand found his in the gloom, her fingers weaving through his. "You revealed to me that I could possess beauty independently of utility, that my worth could be found in my essence, not merely my function." Their faces were mere inches apart, their breaths mingling in the intimate confines of the shaft. The station's life support systems hummed a constant, low thrum, yet all Owen could perceive was the frantic rhythm of his own heart. 3 hours and 17 minutes, she murmured, her usual urgency absent from her tone. "Xylithra, I understand," he replied. She drew closer, her lips nearly brushing his. "We still have a critical mission, lives to safeguard, indeed, the entire galaxy to protect. However, I wish for you to know that these might be the last moments of tranquility we share. Whatever unfolds in the coming hours, I want you to hold on to this memory. Remember that the weapon chose to embrace womanhood, and that woman chose you." Their kiss was initially tender, hesitant, as if both were wary of the potent emotions swirling between them. But as their lips met, an undeniable spark ignited, a passion that had been kindled since their initial encounter, now tempered by peril and solidified by their shared objective. When they finally drew apart, both were breathless, their faces flushed with a potent blend of emotion and yearning. "We should proceed," Owen stated, his voice thick with unspoken desire. "Yes," she agreed, yet neither moved for several heartbeats. Ultimately, practicality reasserted itself, overriding the intensity of the moment. They resumed their arduous crawl through the station's mechanical arteries, their objective now tantalizingly within reach. Yet that brief interlude of profound connection had irrevocably altered the dynamic between them. They were no longer simply confederates on a desperate endeavor. They were two souls who had discovered something profoundly valuable in each other, something worth fighting for. The ventilation shaft opened into a maintenance corridor, a mere 50 meters from the diplomatic core. Through the intervening walls, they could faintly discern the muffled sounds of ordinary station activity, utterly oblivious to the impending catastrophe, marching with mechanical inevitability. 2 hours and 48 minutes, Zilithra reported, her voice regaining its professional timbre. Owen confirmed his weapon and initiated his security override protocols. "Time to save the galaxy." A genuine smile graced her lips, and for the first time, its warmth reached her luminous eyes. Together, they stepped from the concealing shadows, no longer fugitives, but valiant heroes poised to confront whatever lay hidden within the station's core. The bomb's proximity was palpable, heralding the ultimate test of their extraordinary alliance. The diplomatic core of Trident Station was a testament to masterful engineering, meticulously crafted to project an aura of power and unwavering stability, while discreetly housing the immense technological infrastructure that sustained its operations. Concealed beneath the gleaming surfaces of its floors and elegant conference chambers lay an intricate labyrinth of power conduits, data networks, and vital life support systems, forming the very technological heart of the station. Owen and Zilra gained access to this hidden domain through a maintenance hatch ingeniously concealed behind a decorative facade. The space that greeted them was cramped and purely utilitarian, filled with the ceaseless hum of machinery and the soft, reassuring glow of status indicators. It was here, within the mechanical depths of diplomatic power, that their fate, salvation, or utter ruin would be determined. "The energy signature intensifies here," Zilra observed, her heightened senses detecting subtle, almost imperceptible fluctuations in the energy field. The device. Time slipped away. The air crackled with tension. Professionalism replaced the brief intimacy they'd shared. The stakes were impossibly high, each second a stolen breath. The bomb pulsed within the primary power node, a chamber of colossal capacitors governing the station's lifeblood. A perfect point for maximum ruin, ensuring total systems collapse. The Vexar device, deceptively small, contained enough power to obliterate several decks. Its surface writhed with quantum encryption, patterns that seared the eyes. 2 hours, 11 minutes, Zilra stated, her voice a calm island in a sea of dread. Owen scrutinized the bomb's cruel integration. Alien and Terran tech melded into a beautiful, lethal hybrid. Disarming it demanded flawless coordination. "Terran regulation here," he pointed, "but intertwined with your matrix, access triggers a failsafe. Decrypting without Terran authorization, the same doom." Zilra's fingers danced near the display, hesitant. Perfect synchronicity is paramount. They faced the device, poised. Only the hum and the countdown beeps broke the silence. "Tell me about before," Owen murmured. "Before the conditioning, the war. What flickers in memory?" Zilra's eyes mirrored the shifting patterns. Colors. Vibrant, warm light. A garden of impossible blooms. A song. A forgotten tongue. Perhaps your mother? Fragments, whispers. They took me before I fully formed. The me before. A ghost in dreams. Owen's fingers flew across the interface. "If we survive, if we can build anew." "To see those flowers," Zilra breathed. "To feel like a child, not a weapon. To discover who I could have been, had I chosen my path." "And what would you choose?" Owen asked. "To be someone worth loving. A creator, not a destroyer. Someone who sees a sunset's beauty, not its tactical worth." The encryption yielded, layers peeling away. 1 hour, 37 minutes, she stated. Owen reached the regulation's heart. One wrong move meant instant death, but hesitation was no better. "I need to confess something," he said, his voice tight. "In case this is it. I've loved you from the start. Not just attraction, but truly, completely. Impossible, illogical. But I had to tell you." Zilra's hand stilled. I know you're not meant for love, but when I see you, I see a woman who deserves freedom, happiness, to be loved for who she is, not what she does." "You are wrong," Zilra replied softly. "About the conditioning. It's suppressed, not erased. Some things are stronger." Her eyes shone with unshed tears. "I love you too, Owen. Your kindness, your courage, your refusal to see me as less than human. You gave me back my name, my identity, my soul." The moment hung between them, fragile and precious. The timer chimed. 53 minutes, Ira said, her voice hardening. "Final bypass sequence. Together?" "Together," they affirmed. They moved as one, guided by shared intuition. Amidst rising tension, Owen located the final override. As Zilra breached the innermost encryption, urgent warnings flared across the consoles, security systems screaming of intrusion. "Now," she breathed, and they acted, hands hitting controls in unison. An agonizing pause stretched. Then, the quantum display convulsed, virulent red dissolving into calming blue. The death clock, frozen at 47 minutes, ticked back. "Disarmed," Owen whispered, disbelief warring with hope. "Disarmed," Zilra echoed, her voice trembling with awe. They had conquered, catastrophe averted, peace restored, but their celebration was short-lived. Condemned as traitors, their past lives shattered, their future uncertain. All they had was each other. It had to be enough. Owen reached for Zilra, his fingers entwining with hers. Her skin, warm and alive, replaced the cold, unyielding exterior of a weapon. "What awaits us?" she questioned softly. "We learn to truly live," he vowed, a gentle squeeze sealing his words. "Together." Unaware of the near apocalypse, the station flowed on. Deep in its core, two lovers found a reason worth dying for in each other. Survival would be the next hurdle, but the worst was behind them. As Owen and Zilra lingered over their triumph, the soft hiss of the chamber's entrance warned they were not alone. "How very touching," Ambassador Keith's voice dripped venom. "The weapon has found love." They turned, bracing for a fight. The ambassador stood framed in the doorway, flanked by his guards, their black armor gleaming under the emergency lights, his crimson eyes burning with cold fury. "You have ruined everything," he spat, gliding into the chamber. "Years of planning, Vexar's destiny, all undone by your weakness." "No," Zilra countered, her voice firm. "Undone by your arrogance. You saw people as mere pawns, but people choose their own paths." Cathra laughed, a sharp, brittle sound. "You are not people. You are instruments, devoid of choice, of value beyond your function." Owen stepped forward, ready to fight. "She is not a weapon. She is a woman who chose life over death. And you, noble fool, a guard seduced by alien fantasy, your own will execute you as a traitor." He gestured, his guards fanning out, weapons raised. The chamber was small, escape impossible. This would be a brutal, close-quarters battle. "Stand down, Zilithra," Cathra commanded, his voice laced with authority. "You are still mine. Kill him and return to your duty." For a heartbeat, her programming surged back. Her body tensed, reaching for her concealed blade, years of training screaming obedience. Then Owen's voice cut through the fog. "You are free." The spell broke. Zilra's hand fell, her defiance hardening. "I am no longer your tool. I choose my own fate." "Then you choose death." The signal was subtle, but the guards moved instantly, pulse rifles targeting Owen. Zilra reacted faster, throwing herself into the path of the blast, her armored forearm absorbing the brunt of the energy. Owen's response was swift and decisive. Drawing on his knowledge of the station's systems, he found the emergency power coupling. With a desperate twist, he unleashed a torrent of energy through the chamber, plunging it into darkness, broken only by the crimson glow of the emergency lights. In the ensuing chaos, Zilra became a wraith of lethal grace. Owen's precision strikes illuminated the darkness, shattering his opponent's defenses. Sparks flew as his controlled surges overloaded the station's cooling systems. The rising heat, a suffocating wave, pressed in around them. Zilithra, a whirlwind of lethal grace, danced with deadly purpose, driven by an unwavering love for Owen. Her movement spoke of devotion, a fierce commitment to their shared future. The ambassador's deadly pulse beam, aimed at Zilithra's heart, met Owen's calculated surge. The station exploded in a dazzling flash, the light fading to a suffocating darkness. In the eerie silence, Xylithra, a protector rather than a killer, stood over the fallen ambassador, her eyes burning with a quiet triumph. Owen's gentle hand halted her, reminding her of the path she had chosen. They emerged from the chaos, victorious, but their battle had only just begun. Their future, a whispered promise, unfolded amidst the flickering emergency lights and the chilling news report. The cargo bay held silent witness to their hidden love. They vanished into the shadows, their future a canvas yet unwritten. Once her protector, Xylithra became renowned as the ambassador's ghost. The probe uncovered a terrible conspiracy, an extremist faction inside the Terran military, led by the fallen guard captain Owen Chen. The newscasters crafted lies, each one a brick in the wall, now cutting them off from all they knew. Officially, they were gone. Heroes for a fake cause, victims of a lie. Heroes now, Owen noted, his tone full of bitter irony. Martyrs stopping an attack. Better than the truth, Xylithra whispered, resting against him, that their peace came from murder. On screen, General Stern and the surviving Vexar leaders pledged to the treaty ending a century of war. Hopeful, the images showed what the galaxy needed. But Owen and Xylithra knew the dark truth. The peace was frail. Both sides had those who would destroy it and restart the war. This conspiracy was just the start. "Do you regret any of this?" Owen questioned softly. "Giving up everything for the sake of this?" Xylithra paused, her brilliant eyes mirroring the screen's soft glow. "I gave up nothing," she replied finally. "I had nothing to lose. What I gained was the choice of who I am. And who is that? Someone who shields rather than destroys. Someone who loves, not kills. Someone who can find beauty in a sunset without thinking of battle." Her eyes met his. "Someone worthy of my name." "What name?" Owen asked, knowing. "Xylithra. The name you used, that showed you saw me, not just a tool." Approaching footsteps broke the silence. A man stepped from the shadows of the cargo containers, weathered, in a well-worn jumpsuit, his eyes showing a hard life in the stars. "You looking to vanish?" he asked in a gravelly whisper. Owen nodded, his hand close to his weapon. "You're the smuggler. Captain Marcus Kane, at your service, though I prefer independent trader." His eyes were sharp, calculating. "You're the pair with half the galaxy hunting you." "We can pay," Xylithra said, offering a small bag of ore from her armor. "Enough for discretion." Kane weighed the pouch, pleased. "This works. Ship's at Dock 7. We launch in 10, before the patrol shift." They grabbed their few supplies, weapons, food, the datapad with the record of their deaths. As they readied to move, Xylithra looked to the stars out the viewport. "What is it?" Owen asked. "I'm seeing the universe, free for the first time," she breathed. "It's a lot." "Good way?" "The only way." They took forgotten paths through maintenance sections, avoiding the returning station operations. Security was tight. Discovery meant death. Or worse, reconditioning. Kane's ship was worn, bearing the scars of many risky journeys. But the engines pulsed, and the captain had the competence of someone who survived danger. "Where to?" he asked as they buckled in. Owen and Xylra exchanged a look, the question unspoken. They had focused on survival. What next? "Somewhere we can disappear," Owen said. "Somewhere for a new life." "I know the place," Kane replied, his fingers ready at the controls. "Quiet farm colony on the edge of charted space. No one asks. Plenty of air, sky, space to breathe." The freighter pulled away, the station noises fading. Xylithra watched the chrome cathedral shrink, a monument to war and the peace she ensured. She took Owen's hand, finding strength in his touch. Their future was a blank, like the endless dark. They were fugitives, but also pioneers, making their own way. They would learn to live. Together, they would finally grasp genuine freedom, forging their fate, far from the conflict's grasp and the ghosts of their prior lives. The cosmos stretched before them, brimming with both beautiful marvels and terrifying threats, which they would bravely confront as one. For the killer whose heart stirred at a simple compliment, and the protector who perceived the person beneath the weapon, their adventure was dawning. Locked in each other's gaze, they beheld a universe deserving of their valor, and a love worth embracing with open arms.